stupid because it's going to a default.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts to monitor how many drive cycles you perform, and it'll get used to how you're driving again, and then it'll start to act right.
My car's old. It's a 2009, so
it's not old. It's
okay.
computerized. It's not old. Typically,
Okay,
every 3 to 5 days. Yeah, every 3 to 5 days is perfect.
Okay, so
Also,
start her up 3 to 5 days.
You want to move it at least once a week, because if it sits too long, the tires can get what they call flat spot. And they'll start to give you vibrations over a period of time because they've sat so long in one position that position will start to embed itself into the tire. So you'll get this, and you won't know why. So that's the other thing. Yeah, that's the other thing.
Good to know.
The other thing I'll hit you with, and then I'll wait for everybody else.
Of course.
Try to stay away from trees. Your 2009, everything above, has a component called a cabin filter. And that area where the cabin filter is located is actually a vent from the outside to filter air coming inside. So it's just like our air conditioning system. Rodents, squirrels, rats, mice, bugs, roaches, whatever, see that as a warm spot in the vehicle, and they usually start to build their home or nest. I've found dead rodents. I've found squirrel nests. I've found nuts, bird droppings, and
the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, exactly. And right now, with what we're going through, that's a major area that I'm going to focus on because of the virus. That's one area that will give you contaminated air. Since this is Houston, everybody runs AC. That's the air that's being filtered in your cars through that cabin filter.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. I will have to admit, to my utter shame, I have been paying my significant other for gas because he's been driving us everywhere. So I've been enjoying the nice break on driving anywhere, because my sense of direction is what you might politely call challenged.
Okay.
I have had family members take bets on how long it's going to take me to get back from the airport after dropping somebody off. It was up to $15 that I was going to get halfway to Union.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
They have a little confidence in you.
They know my little adventures. So, hey, we've got another person joining us. Ken, good morning. It's good to see you. Okay, so it's almost 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and start. Well, I've already started recording this a bit, but I'm going to go ahead and kind of introduce us around. That way, Nina's here too. That way you get to know some of the regular folks and some folks who have questions. We really appreciate you, Mr. Burris, coming in this morning, or Professor Burris, Instructor Burris.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, which one do you prefer?
Mr. Burris is fine.
Okay.
We're all
to give people the credits for their degrees, so to speak. I know that professor title's hard earned.
No, we're all relaxed today.
Oh, good. That's good. Okay, so it is 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And I'm really happy to see some folks have joined us, and some folks might, kind of join over time. And this is a live program, which is where we have sort of an everything but the kitchen sink attitude, and everybody kind of comes in and gets to know folks and each other and learns about something new each week. And it's pretty diverse, covers a real broad spectrum of things, everything from how to craft things to cooking stuff to cars to archaeological digs. So it covers the gamut of things. And this morning, Mr. / Professor Darryl E. Burris is with us from HCC. He is an automotive and diesel instructor as well as a good mechanic, which my mother always said that a good man is not that hard to find, but a good mechanic is. So I appreciate her advice on that, and that's something that I've been looking for since I moved to town. A couple of you guys have probably seen me since I started coming a little more often to the live program. Our recent hostess, Claire Gunnels, who'd been doing this for about 12 years, just retired. So
Okay.
she's not with us today. She's enjoying some of her first days of retirement, which I think that's fair, reasonable. I would be too. I'm Rachel Hugenberg. I'm one of the librarians here, and I'm going to be the new hostess of Life. So welcome to Life, and welcome to Ask the Mechanic with Professor Burris. And we've sent him some questions in to start with. And he and I have been having a nice chat about auto mechanics. I do have a question for you, though. I've had trouble finding a good one since I've moved to town. How do we know what are the signs of a good mechanic or a good shop?
Okay. I've always told anyone that I've stood in front of, one of the ways to identify a good shop is the overall appearance of the shop. If you notice, a lot of your franchise shops today focus a lot on their outside appearance, the monikers, the way the front of the building looks, some of the things they offer in the guest area. If there's more cars backed up or on blocks out front than there is inside the shop, I don't think that's the secondly, you have to interview any shop when you walk through the door as far as their customer service. If the guy's wiping grease off his hands and he more or less looks at you as if to say, you're bothering me, that may not be the shop that you want to go to. Thirdly, most what I would call dedicated shops will ask you questions but not make you feel like you're dumb, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
They usually will address you in a very calm, jovial, friendly demeanor, like they're glad to see you, because actually you're making up their paycheck. So you should be, you should be at least pleasant. Good morning, how are you? What's going on with your car? The other thing is just notice in conversation how long the techs have been there. If a shop has been open 30 years, but the senior technician in the shop only been there 2 years, it's something to worry about. Most shops that have any tenure will typically have 2 or 3 technicians that's been there for 10, 15 years, whatever the case may be, unless it's a brand new shop. The only other thing that I would notice in a shop is how well the shop is kept. If there's stuff everywhere, that kind of bothers me a little bit. That lets me know their organization is not really something that they keep up with. They can be kind of messy. So your vehicle is your baby. It's like your child. You want people to take care of it. So if they don't take care of the shop, they're not going to take care of your vehicle.
Fair enough. Appreciate the advice, and I'll do my best. I think we all will to keep a lookout for those things. It's what.
Well, it's like going shopping.
Yeah.
You have many, and I'm going to use this scenario because it's real big. You have many Walmarts. They're all over the place. However, there's some Walmarts that people won't go to because of customer service. There's some Walmarts that people will go to because of customer service. Even though they might go to the superstore, doesn't mean the superstore has good customer service. And that's important.
Yeah. All right. So we did send you a list of questions about cars and mechanics, just so we could get a kind of sense of the answer. If you wouldn't mind starting in on those a bit to give us an idea.
No, not a problem. I have 1 through 15 questions. Like I said, most of them were pretty easy. There's a couple that I'm going to give a basic foundation without getting real in depth because it is a broad question. The first one says, what is the best method for cleaning the film on the inside of a windshield of a car? Window cleaner. However, use automotive window cleaner, not Windex. Windex has a lot of ammonia in it, and potentially a lot of your vehicles today have tinted windows. The ammonia will stain the tint in the windows. So be sure to get an automotive glass cleaner. Anybody has it. Walmart's got it. Even HEB, any auto parts, and it'll say good for tinted windows. That would be something I would use to clean the interior windows of a vehicle. Second one, my main question is about regular maintenance checkups, 30K, 45K. This person sounds like they've been going to a dealership. Dealerships have on all cars by the manufacturer a maintenance schedule for those cars. And it usually starts at about 7,500, 15,000, then it'll go to 30,000, 45, 60, and then 90 is usually the top of the scale. That's an excellent program for the person that is not mechanically inclined or the person that really doesn't have a lot of time. The only thing that is kind of where you have to do your research is you have to make sure of the dealership's customer service integrity. Whenever you go in for those service like that, they're usually loaded with different things that the dealership's going to check, and the technician is going to try to sell you somewhere on that line what's in that particular service. That you have to be resourceful to feel comfortable that he's telling you the truth, or if he's trying to upsell you. Do not buy anything when a technician is giving you a risk. Here's one of the pressure questions. If you don't fix those brakes today, you may go out and have an accident. Ladies freak out over that because obviously they're carrying children. So the first thing they think, I'm not going to stop, I'm going to run into somebody, I'm going to kill my children. That's a pressure sale. Should be able to tell you what's wrong with the brakes, why they're at that point, and more or less give you a scenario of the mileage and understand the type of driving that you do, if that makes sense. So not ever go into pressure sales. They try that a lot. I do recommend dealerships due to the fact documentation of your vehicle is important to maintain the value of the vehicle. Most dealers, if you trade your vehicle in and you've gotten dealer service, they can document that your vehicle actual trade-in value will be higher. A lot of times, if you don't have any documentation of service or intervals of that nature, then they'll want to negotiate and drop the value of the vehicle because they don't know the history of it. So I do recommend dealers on that as opposed to some of your quick oil changes. I won't mention any names of those because they are businesses and not fair, but try to find a facility that offers full service and customer service, not something that you can sit in your car while they change oil and then they throw you out the door. Those are for the people that pretty much are on the run, but you don't get a full service of customer integrity by sitting in your car while he's changing your oil. There's a lot more to it. Somebody popped the question that what if the same mechanic regularly and can't get them to document? Run. Anytime that something is done on your vehicle, you should have full documentation of what you're paying for. All shops should itemize the labor. They should itemize your parts. they should itemize the concern of the vehicle and any upsell and why it's being upsold. An example is what I gave you earlier with the cabin filter. Remove filter, debris was found in there of rodents or whatever. That lets you know something was in there that required that filter to be replaced. Sometimes technicians will write filter dirty. Well, okay, sometimes the filter can be dirty. You slap it up against the wall, the dirt falls out, you got a great filter. So documentation, it happens all the time. We do it. We used to do it all the time. Take the filter out and you see a little bit of dust on it, hit it against the wall, that surface dust falls off, you got a clean filter. So anytime you go to any repair facility, documentation is key. If you don't want to write anything down, then ask. If not, then you're not in the right shop. Never leave a shop without the full understanding of a warranty. Never. Word of mouth is not a warranty. I know the guy. Oh, he's a good friend of mine. Oh, I know he'll take care of it. That guy may leave. He may get fired. He may quit. Whatever the case. He may not be there for 2 weeks. He's on vacation. The other guys in there say, well, I don't know nothing about that. John didn't leave no message, so you're stuck. So always, anything of warranty, get it in writing on the receipt. And that way you always have documentation. Let's see. I think I answered one. Reading a sound relief, my dealership doesn't do those high pressure sales technique. Excellent. They sound like they're customer service oriented. Excellent. Which one?
All right. We did have a question incoming about when you should change your oil. Is it 3,000, 5,000, or 7,500 miles, or is it by the service center or when that blinking light goes on?
Okay, perfect. Good question.
Which I've been wondering that too.
Anything that is 1999 and newer, forget the sticker. The sticker is a internal shop documentation, and they use their internal protocol for oil changes. Always go by the owner's manual, and the owner's manual will indicate the manufacturer's suggested service interval. Only thing to deviate from that, if you tow or if you do a lot of in-city driving. Example, if you're a salesman and you're constantly stopping and going, you may run over to this particular place of business. Then you go 5 miles and you go to this place of business. Then you drive another 10 minutes and you're going to see this client. Then you drive another 10 minutes and you have a whole month of that type of driving. That would be a case of doing your oil change a little more frequently because the vehicle never really gets to operating temperature before you turn it off. So the oil absorbs all the carbon and dirt in the engine, but it never gets a chance to warm up and flow to lubricate properly. If you tow, obviously you're putting an extreme load and additional heat in the engine. You should change the oil more frequently, especially if your vehicle has a turbo or a supercharger, or if you have a 1500 vehicle that has a towing package, 2500, 3500, those are already heavy vehicles. Under those type of conditions, you should service it more frequently. People who live in rural areas where, let's say you're on a farm and to get to your house, you have to drive up the dirt road. Those type of situations require more frequent oil changes. So on an average, 3,000 for the extreme, 5,000 for the salesman or the moderate, and then people that just drive normal, let's say from the school to downtown, usually 7,500 will suffice with today's synthetic oil. Let's see. Red Paula. If you have questions, oh, okay, please chat. All right. Somebody put, and I laugh with Deanna, and he magically fixed Don's truck. Now I want to meet Don. I want to find out what's wrong with Don's truck. Because I can wave my hand over it and say run. So if you would have Don email me or get a hold of me, I'll try to answer any questions he may have about his truck. Number 5, what things that a typical car repair place will try to sell? Oh, when you get your oil changed that aren't necessary. Any type of flushes, coolant flush, brake flush, engine flush, AC flush, differential flush, transmission flush. Avoid all of them. Whenever you do a flush, it's typically done in a service. If you're having a water pump replaced, they will replace the coolant in the system. They will flush it then. If you're having brakes done, normally they will include a brake flush or they may charge you for a brake flush. Just as a routine maintenance, usually the sales pitch is, you've got 30,000 miles, you need to flush your fluid. We found 5 microns of condensation in the fluid, which is causing it to break down. It's a sales pitch. So any type of flushes that they offer, avoid them. If you go in your owner's manual, most of the vehicles, 2016 newer, most manufacturers will tell you do not use flushes on our particular vehicles for whatever reason. But they do outline, do not do any flushes. Cabin filters, you be the judge. If he pulls a cabin filter out and he says it's dirty, see, look here, you pretty much know between dirt and between something that's just surface. Number 2, not let them sell you a cabin filter if you did not authorize them to go in your glove box to get it. So a lot of times they will take your air filter out and your cabin filter as an upsell. You may not have authorized that. The way that they get around the authorization is you go in for a multi-point inspection. So that is you giving them the authorization to go get the cabin filter or to check the air filter. That's up to you. If you feel you don't want them to do that, then let them know on a multi-point inspection, do not check the air filter or cabin filter at that point. Let's see. She just showed me another question. What about right now? We're not driving much. Do we need to be concerned? It's been months and months and months since the last time I changed my oil. I'm in the same boat, and I'm changing mine right now because our campus is going to be opening soon. Anytime a vehicle sits for that length of period, first thing you do before you put it back in operation is get a maintenance service done. We have temperature changes, which the oil absorbs naturally. Even though it's enclosed in an engine, the engine still has areas where air and condensation can get into the engine. That contaminates your oil. So when it's been sitting that long, you should have a maintenance service before putting it back into normal operation. Okay. The next one she showed me, my question is there a place where I can attend a tree shade mechanics course that he would recommend? I'd really like to learn how to change the oil and the light. I'm not sure about Lone Star. Where I am a faculty, we have what we call a certification class. If you just want to take one class in our intro or general service program, you can do that. So if you want to do intro, that will give you more or less the theory of how an automobile works. If you want to do general service, it's an 8-week program that will give you general service training on how to change oil, check tires, tire rotation, your TPMS, which is a tire pressure monitoring sensor, your general basic knowledge. It also will teach you how to reset your oil maintenance light. They can do just one course and then, of course, not come back. It's up to them. Our program generally is designed for students that either want to go into the maintenance industry, such as your quick lanes, your quick lubes. Our degree program is someone who wants to make a career out of it, who wants to go to the dealership. So if someone just wants to do a little DIY in the garage, you're more than welcome to sign up for one of the courses, and you can get a certificate for that course. Let's see. Which one? What do you teach? And can I take it from you? I am currently a automotive instructor, diesel instructor for Houston Community College. I currently teach at the North Forest campus, which is our newest campus. I just opened it in August of last year. It's located on Little York and Homestead. I also have a class at the Northline campus, which is at Airline and 45. So if you're going in the intro, more than likely, you may get me as your instructor. I will tell you this, if you come over to the North Forest campus, I will be the instructor because I am the lead instructor at that campus. If you go to the Northline, you might get me or you might get Mr. Waters. So Mr. Waters is an excellent instructor, but you'll learn everything from 1930 up to today. So he gets kind of long-winded when it gets around his age group, which is 1930 to about 1960. He wears students out with Studebaker. Studebaker has not been around in over 60-some years, but he knows it like the back of his hand. So, you know, I get the students all the time. Oh, what's a Studebaker? Never mind. You don't want to know.
Oh, goodness. That sounds familiar. My dad is a big old car fanatic, so he and my mom talk about when cars had very large wings and they were hard to dent.
God. That's 50s.
I can't say that I missed the wings, but the bit about the denting, that would be very nice. I do know that Lone Star does have some auto mechanics classes. If you want to look into it with us, it's totally cool. Support your local community colleges regardless.
Right. Somebody sent a question, number 6. What parts can you replace yourself by buying parts in an auto parts store and watching a YouTube video? I don't have a problem with YouTube videos. I do have a problem with who's doing the video. I do teach off of YouTube. However, everybody on there doesn't know exactly how to do it properly. There are some that will do it properly, and there are some that will do it through the backyard of what they've learned. For people that want to just DIY, you might want to watch a series of videos on what you're wanting to do, and you will see just about everybody will have a different way. Find the way that works for you, what you feel is the safest or is correct. You'll know by looking at a comparison who's taking the right steps and who's shortcutting. That makes sense? I'm not one for YouTube videos where a person uses a lot of foul language. Those type of guys typically have no customer service, and I don't suggest anyone watch their videos due to the fact if you got to cuss at a vehicle to get something done, I know you're not doing it correctly. These can be frustrating components, but it's like being on the computer. If it doesn't work right and you start cussing the computer, you don't know how to work a computer. So it's just one of those that if you're going to put instructional videos out there, you need to have restraint on your language, and you need to be reassuring that you're giving customer service. Okay, the last thing on the last question about buying parts, when you buy parts, I've always recommended buy manufacturer's parts or buy parts that are endorsed by the manufacturer. Give you an example. Most people are afraid to buy parts from the dealership because they think it costs too much. Dealerships have a parts department. Their parts are competitive with the aftermarket auto parts. Where a dealership may be different than your auto parts is the labor that dealers charge for their service. Their parts are usually priced in competition with your AutoZone or your O'Reilly. Always try to buy factory replacement part. If you've got a GM or the AC Delco, they may offer you some generic brand. I'm not saying that generic brands are bad, but a lot of them out there do not meet the expectation of the factory part and don't last as long as the factory part. So again, when you're buying parts, shop carefully. Sometimes price is an issue, but if a part costs $100 at one place, but a part similar to it costs $30 at another place, that's a $70 difference. What makes that much difference in the part besides the way it's put together? Number 8, should you look at price at a part replacement and purchasing a car? I'm high on this. Whenever you go buy a car, go in with a firm budget. Know what you want to spend, period. Where vehicles usually get people as they buy more than they're either can afford, or they buy more than they anticipated. A lot of times when you go buy a car, I usually recommend that you lease that type of car before you buy it. Do not drive the dealer's car. Dealers will do what they call mental ownership. They'll let you take the car home for a weekend. And I'm going to teach Ken because Ken's outside. Bradford just bought a 2021 Chevy pickup. So he drives up to the driveway. Ken's sitting outside and he sees and goes, "Hey, Bradford, you got a new truck." Bradford's not going to tell him, "No, I'm just driving. The dealer's letting me look at it." He's going to look at it and say, "Well, we're still trying to get the numbers together. I'm just kind of doing it on a test drive." What the dealer wants you to do, he wants you to get that attention. Anytime you get that attention, it helps your decision on buying the truck. So anytime you're looking at a vehicle, try to rent the vehicle from Enterprise or anywhere that you're looking at to buy, drive it for the weekend, you're not committed to it, and then take it back. Some of them haven't even. Can everybody hear what I just said? Can everybody hear me? Okay. That sounded echo. That's probably. Some of your dealers, yeah, there's an echo. Okay. Some of your dealers will use your excitement to their advantage to sell you that vehicle. Once they've got you excited, that's when the add-ons come. And they'll put things in it that you may not use or you may not want. So anytime you're going to buy a vehicle, always try to rent one of the nature to know if you're going to like it or not. But again, like I said, be very careful with your dealers. What's a good vehicle to buy? Anytime you buy a used vehicle, definitely have an outside technician look at it. If it's at a dealership, take it to another mechanic that maybe you feel comfortable with, or take it to a repair facility away from the dealership that they don't deal with and have it looked over. If you're buying a new vehicle, like I said, have a firm price in mind. That's how many people come in and say, "Well, I'm gonna spend 30, 35,000. You end up spending 42,000. I I did it yesterday. I went into Walmart to get coolant for my truck. I should have paid $120. I left at $300 because I saw stuff for the house. So again, I didn't go in with a budget in mind. I thought, oh yeah, I could use it. Oh yeah, I could use that. So again, when you're making that kind of a purchase, go in with a budget in mind. Go in with a price in mind. Do your homework so when you walk in, you don't get kind of glorified at what he's going to show you as a dealer. Let's see. We're doing well. Number 10. Okay. Number 10, how to check air filters and how often should you change them? If you're not familiar with your vehicle at all, it is not a problem to take it to your friendly neighborhood garage or your neighborhood shop. And it's a matter of just taking the air box off and pulling the filter out. Most vehicles are easy accessible. If you want to watch YouTube, they'll show you how to check your filter. Filters are a little different. They can be all over the place in the vehicle. Sometimes they're just simply in the glove compartment. Some of them are under the hood. Some of them you may even have to remove the radio to access it. Some of them are underneath the console. It depends on where the manufacturer installed it. On an average, normal driving, city type driving, on an average, air filters are about 15,000 miles. It's usually about maybe once, twice a year. If you live in rural areas, then you should be looking at somewhere around every 5,000 to 7,000 miles or every oil change. For most, air filters should be every second oil change. If you do the first one at 7,500, right about 15,000, you should be ready for an air filter. Cabin filters, usually do those about every 3 to 6 months or every oil change. Now, if you are a smoker or you have pets in the car or you park in areas that are susceptible to rodents, then you need to find where your cabin filter is and check them more frequently. I've had roaches crawl out from the cabin filter because the car is sat in the garage and that's where the roaches kind of navigated because a trash can was in the garage. So obviously they would come in through the trash can and then they'd get into the car. Next thing you know, you got roach in your cabin filter. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't quite want those little things falling out the dash. So again, use your judgment when a technician shows you a cabin filter. Be careful. I don't know how many have done it lately, but it used to be that technicians would switch filters. They would actually bring an old filter out they've changed before, show you, and then put the one back in your car after they've done exactly what I told you, hit the wall with it, and put it back in your car. You didn't get a new filter, but you paid $40, $50 for nothing. So again, when you find that technician that has that good rapport with you, usually they're going to be pretty confident, they're going to be trustworthy. It's usually some of your more, I would say, quick shops or some of your areas where you have young technicians, entry-level technicians that are learning. They're trying to make every dollar they can. They're going to try to upsell everything they can. So just be diligent, just be careful in what you agree to. How to safely jack the car up. In an emergency, all vehicles in the owner's manual and in the trunk typically have a jacking instruction sticker. It will tell you where the jack is. It will tell you where the jacking points are. For anybody that's not familiar with this type of repair, this type of service, call your record. Simply. The one thing you don't want to do is try to change a spare tire and you don't get the lug nuts tight. Lug nuts fall off, you have an accident, and obviously it's chaos. So if you're not used to or haven't never done it, call your roadside assistance, let them do it for you. That's just a safe way to do it. If you're in an area that you don't feel comfortable, or if you're at a time of the day, such as 2 o'clock in the morning, continue to drive slowly on that flat tire. If you get pulled over by a policeman, so be it. But I'd rather see you in motion than to see you still stranded, because that's an opportunity for, as we say, the crazed people to lurk on you. So again, if you're 2 o'clock in the morning, you get a flat, keep driving, find a secure location before you attempt, or a secure location where you can call for help. Do not stop on the road. Are AAA services worth the cash? Yes, they are. I've had AAA for about 15 years. Currently have State Farm. Just about all your major insurance companies offer roadside service. It's not, it's good to have it. So yes, they're worth the money. Shop Geico offers it, Prudential, State Farm, AAA, they all offer some type roadside service. Try to avoid that tow truck driver that just happens to be going down the highway and he sees you over to the side and he stops. He's going to make up a cost rate that you may not be prepared for. So again, roadside service is utmost important, especially if you travel and not familiar with your vehicle or don't have those type of skills. Let's see. How long should you? Next question. How long should you restart and drive your car if it's been sitting? COVID-19 has me not driving very much. At least once to twice a week, depending on the vehicle. I'm going to say this in general. If you have a 2012 or newer, it should be twice a week. For the main fact, 90% of the vehicle's operation is computer. Computer must have 5-volt reference at all times. All 5-volt reference does in a vehicle is keep it alive. Everything else pretty much is either defaulted or the last time it operated, that's the way it's going to operate the next time you start it up. So what you have to watch is if your battery goes dead, your key fob doesn't work. Some of the newer vehicles now have a key that you can open the door. Some of your other vehicles don't, and they depend on the key fob to open it. So again, once to twice a week, I always suggest move the vehicle once a week because tires will flat spot. So if you just drive around the block or go to the store and come back, that's perfect. As long as it moves, that functionally operates your brakes, your tires. Always let the vehicle warm up if you are going to drive it. So at least drive it for about 15, 20 minutes. That gets all the fluids, not just what you see on the gauge. That gets your oil up to temperature, your transmission, your differential, your tire pressures, et cetera, et cetera. Next one, are there specific cars or car brands that you would recommend for reliability and ease of maintenance? This is a broad question that I can't really answer due to the fact of how many vehicles there are out there. What I do suggest, you're going to buy a compact vehicle. Look at it as compact transportation. This is not the vehicle that you want to take a family on a trip, that if you travel from the south side to the north side or vice versa, if you have to drive frequently long distances, this is not the type of vehicle. And I'm talking little small vehicles with 1.8 liters or smaller, or some of your vehicles that, like the smart car, that's perfect for commuter, downtown. nobody in the Woodlands should be driving a smart car downtown daily. It's just not that type of vehicle. There's people that do, but it was designed as a commuter vehicle, small enough to get around downtown. And every time I go downtown, I cringe because it's crazy down there. It is absolutely crazy, especially for a guy that drives a truck. You know, people don't respect trucks. So, but it's perfect for that. Going from the Woodlands down 45 or the Hardy at 70 miles an hour, that's not a smart car's best performance. So you're always going to push them off the side of the road. Also, at 70 miles an hour, they're not very stable. So most of the time, you don't see smart cars passing everybody up. You see them on the right-hand side of the lane. So just be careful the type of vehicle that you buy, but do your research. A lot of the vehicles have a lot of amenities in it. They have different series of the vehicle. Everybody in Texas now is really getting into SUVs and pickup trucks. Just be careful on the SUVs because a lot of them are coming with a lot of added accessories that you may not be prepared for, or they may up the cost on the vehicle. So it's really hard to say who has the best vehicle. Just shop smartly and do the reviews on it. Most vehicles have plenty of reviews. If you've got 1,000 people that gave reviews and 800 of them weren't very good, that means that's not the vehicle to buy. And, oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. These are the cars of the future. Our future, I predict, now this is my prediction, nothing to support it, but I predict within the next 10 years, fossil fuel will be just like we were 30 years ago with leaded fuel and unleaded. You're going to have half and half, and then all of a sudden, you're going to have more of one and none of the other. Hybrid cars right now are a lot better than they were when they were incepted into the industry because they've had 10 years of testing and knowledge. The 2020 hybrids, 2021, I call very good cars, but they're expensive to fix because technicians have to be trained and there's not a lot of them out there. So they know that they are in demand. So usually with hybrids, they're going to be a little more expensive to maintain and to repair. Electric cars beside Tesla still have a ways to go as far as their technology. As soon as their technology gets some time on it, then obviously they're going to be able to have more to offer. You'll see more volume out there. Be ready. That's the way our industry is going. Pretty much is hybrid and electric cars.
That one was for me, Mr. Burris, because I've been looking at the idea of having to look to the future eventually when my car, Betsy, bless her 2009 heart, eventually meets a Texas driver in, not the best way or just chills out. So I was always wondering about electrics and hybrids because I have friends who drive them and, they talk about the gas savings, but is the gas what you're going to make up in maintenance costs?
Well, I'll give you an idea. An electric car, Nissan has a hybrid. The battery for that Nissan Altima hybrid is $1,500. Now, on the average, it's about every 2 to 3 years to replace that battery. There's only a few that have it as of right now. So the expense of it is still way up there, but again, it's going to be the future.
Okay.
Is there a car review that you recommend? Consumer Report. Consumer Report's excellent. NADA is excellent, which is the Dealer Alliance. The only other that I would look at is just kind of Google the vehicles that you're looking at, or Google the dealership that you're looking at, and see what other people have spoken about it. I do reviews a lot. I don't give them, but I do look at them a lot, and I discount 10% of the reviews that I see on anybody. We have people now, if you didn't give them exactly what they wanted, they give you a negative. If the car doesn't perform like they want, they'll give you a negative. I'll give you an example, and I thought the guy was, and it was one of my students that did it, and we had a talk, and I thought he was really being picky. He gave Ford a bad review on a Mustang because his buddy in his Camaro beat him. So, so he thought it was Ford's fault because his GT Mustang did not outrun his friend's Camaro ZL1. Well, first of all, there's 250 horsepower difference between the two cars. So he sent a comment on the review about Ford saying that the Mustang was junk. And that's the kind of stuff that sometimes you'll run into on the reviews. So again, if there's 1,000 people and 800 of them gave bad reviews, I kind of look at that. If there's 1,000 people and 920 gave good reviews, and you've got that 80 that didn't, then I think that business is doing something correct. And I always read the reviews. Why did he get a negative? Well, he didn't do something, or those are the things that I look at. So shop diligently when you're looking at things like that to review. But otherwise, it's just common sense. Use your smarts, use your heart, use your integrity. Let's see. And Hubs has wanted a Tesla forever. Good luck. I'm glad you got the money. They're very good, though. They are pricey, but they're very good. Would you recommend always buying used? Is buying a new car always wrong? I'm not the person to ask that because I've never, ever bought a new car. I've never wanted one. I always wait till Bradford wears his out. Then I buy it from him for cheap, put a new motor, transmission, get it painted, and I drive it. Currently, as my niece will attest, we took a trip. Oh, when did we take a trip? 4 months ago, last year. Anyway, make a long story short, I have a 1986 Monte Carlo SS. We took a trip to her father's house in Dallas. I never heard her complain about how the car rode. She just jumped in it and we rode. Now, I was passing people on the highway. She watched that, but she never complained about how I rode. So typically, I'm an old school car owner. I've never bought a new one. However, I've worked on many new cars in the dealership. I will say this, the best cars out there, but they have the worst customer relations, are Corvette owners. They were the worst I've ever dealt with. They come in with an attitude. Ours were no problem, but they were. I got rolled up because I wiped the guy's dashboard down, but I didn't clean the whole car. The guy was unhappy. The only place I was in the car was on the driver's side. So I wiped the steering wheel, I wiped the seat, I wiped the dashboard down. I used Indust. That was a trick that I used to use at the dealership. Indust doesn't leave that shine like Armor All, but it does leave a nice coating on it or a dressing in order to make sure that it's clean. So I wiped the seats down, the steering wheel, the dash, the door panel, and that looked so good that the customer was upset because the passenger side wasn't done. Now, my boss did not really penalize me in any way. He just wrote a little note to satisfy the customer, but then it hit file 13 when the customer left. So he had to laugh, I had to laugh, but yeah, those are sometimes the customers that you'll have, but Corvette is an excellent car. So, what type of car buying, used and new? That depends on your budget. That depends on you. If it's new, go in with a price in mind. Stay with it. If it's used, shop around, and I don't care how many times you have to go to a technician. Always take that car and have it checked before you purchase it. If you're buying it from an individual, I'll throw this in. Do the same. If the guy doesn't want to let you take it to a shop and have it looked at, ask. If the deal sounds too good to be true, guess what? It is. I have someone that says, which is why he hasn't gotten a Tesla. That sounds like me. I'm broke. He loves fixing cars. Good. I'm going to open it up. I've got 9 minutes. I'm going to open it up to anybody else that may have any questions for me that I can possibly answer in the 9 minutes. Anybody?
All righty. So we've gotten a fair amount of questions answered, I would say, Professor Burris. Good Lord. Take a breathe.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
That was really impressive to me. My dad tinkers around with cars because he used the old Shelton manuals to hobble together cars back enough to work. And we actually have the database through our library. So, you know, if you want to have a look at those, we've got them.
Okay.
But
no, those are excellent. The ones that I would tell people to stay away from is Haynes. The Haynes manual is a manual that gives you enough information to get you in trouble. There's a lot of illustrations that are missing. There's a lot of critical points that are missing. There's a lot of, I guess you would say, detailed diagrams that you may need. It's just kind of that $15 book. And there again, there's that price difference. You can buy a Haynes manual for your vehicle for $15. A Chilton book is $90. So what's the difference? Chilton has a lot more information.
All righty. So Bronwyn's asking, what would you say is the absolute minimum maintenance a car needs? How long will a car run if you just get the oil changed every 6 months and that's it?
You're going to find yourself on the side of the road at some point. A lot of it has to do with your driving. As I emphasized earlier, a lot of it has to do with your driving. Before the pandemic came up, I did an oil change just about every month. There's nothing for me to put somewhere around 4,000 to 5,000 miles on my vehicle in a month, just because of the 2 campuses I go to and where I live. On an average, you want to stay within your mileage indicator. If it's 7,500 miles, that's fine. You can probably go another 2,000. What you don't want to do is have the oil start to break down and create sludge. Sludge is where oil thins out. And I'll give you an example. You cook hamburgers in a skillet. And you take that grease and just set the skillet with the grease in the sink. What happens to it the next morning is that the grease actually separates and it becomes water and grease. You have this white greasy film, and then you have this water sitting next to it, which is oil. Oil breaks down like that. Well, the paraffin or the synthetic that's in our oils today, once it starts to break down like that, it starts to turn to sludge because it doesn't lubricate properly. That's when you start to have a mess. So over 30, 40,000 miles of that same type of situation is when engine problems start to occur. So that's when people start getting 60, 70,000 miles and they start having major engine problems. That's usually one of the causes of that. So every 6 months, if he's just doing normal driving, not a big problem. But stay with your maintenance guidelines in your owner's manual. If not, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to look it up for you, and I can give you some information on that. Okay? And I just got some. I got one interesting. I like a 51 Olds Rocket 88, good car. Hudson's were okay, but Olds had overhead valves and high compression. Yes, they did. That is mechanical. So that's a restoration question, which is hard for everybody else, but high compression engines still exist. When your car says you need premium fuel, and I'll touch on that real quick, I've got a few minutes. When your dashboard indicates you need premium fuel, that's because your engine has high compression. Anything over 10-to-1 is considered high compression. That usually means you need premium fuel. At no other time should no other vehicle be using premium. People have the myth. Premium fuel gives me better performance, better gas mileage. In today's vehicles, our vehicles are monitored to the type of fuel being used, and that is how the parameters are designed. You can cause issues with premium fuel, or you're just wasting money. Yeah. So with premium fuel, unless your vehicle designates that type of fuel, you don't really need it. The 89 mid-grade, you don't really need unless it designates using a mid-grade fuel. Most of our vehicles, they run very well on regular. Just watch where you're getting your fuel. Some stations have more detergents in their fuel than octane. Other stations, depending on the volume, they have water in their fuel. So if you've been using Bob's convenience store around the corner, Bob only fills up his tank once a month. Watch that type of fuel because it can condensate just from sitting because he doesn't have a volume of clients. Places like Valero, Raceway, their fuels are bought from one of the 5 oil refineries. Raceway doesn't have a refinery, Valero doesn't have it. So they're buying it from either Shell, Exxon, Citgo, Sunoco, and then there's another one. Oh, BP. That's where they're getting the fuel from. That's surplus. Once all the stations underneath the banner of those 5 suppliers, and the surplus is sold off to like Walmart, Target, HEB, places like that. That's where they're buying the surplus fuel. So those are places that you have to watch. Is there a difference between American made and Asian made? That's been a fight for years. Asian made cars offer a lot more customer friendly type amenities in the vehicle. They last longer, but it's for one reason. Most of your Asian vehicles are designed to give you a certain amount of power, and that's all they're going to give you. So with that, they're only going to run at a certain point, and if they're going to make a lot of power, and I'll give you an example, the Toyota Supra, kids love that car because it makes a lot of power. Toyota's research and development on the bottom end of that engine is a race technology. It's designed to take the abuse. American-made vehicles are designed to give a lot of horsepower, but they're heavy. And anytime something's heavy and you put a lot of power to it, the power to weight ratio usually causes catastrophic failure. So it's just like a big truck going down the highway and he hits a Honda. That Honda has no weight compared to what that truck is. So that truck being as heavy as it is, he's going to tear that Honda apart. So your American vehicles typically weigh more than the Asian vehicles, but they make more power than the Asian vehicles. With those two together, gives them more, I guess you could say, issues about damage than what the Asian vehicles do. So they're both great, but Asian vehicles usually you'll find 200,000 or 300,000 miles because they're only going to go as fast as they're designed and they don't tear up that easy. When I run STP additives, Me as a technician, no. That's almost like a doctor fix it in a can. It just don't happen. If your engine has an issue, then it's got an issue. Motormatic, Lucas, all those products, I don't endorse by any means, but that's personal. That's my opinion. There's others that'll say, oh, they're great. Unless the manufacturer endorsed it, I would stay away from it. Any other questions? I was told by my niece, the boss, that it is time.
Yes,
And
it is.
I want to thank everyone for allowing me this time to share my expertise and enjoy listening to me talk. I enjoyed your questions. I think everybody gained some knowledge. I'd love to do it again for you guys. So if this ever comes back, I will be more than happy to do it again for you. Benford, thank you for being so nice to be one of my guests. And Ken, thank you so much for being cheerful while I'm using you. But again, I want to extend my honor and my pleasure for this opportunity to speak with all of you.
Thank you so much for coming, Professor Burris. We really appreciated getting to know you and getting to know so much about vehicles. As a lady, I can honestly say my knowledge of vehicles is not what it should be, but I feel better after this conversation today. And I definitely feel a lot more set. And I know some of the gentlemen in this call and persons of, in between are all very grateful for your knowledge and expertise and your kindness and staying over with us. And we would love to have you here at Live. It's just been a life experience. It's been
no problem.
A piece of joy. So thank you so much. And with that, we are going to fold for the day unless anybody has more questions for Professor Burris. Is there a method of contact that people can ask you questions if they would like?
Sure. Yeah, you can. Yeah, my niece is going to type in my email address, and she'll give you my phone number. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, thank you so much. We really appreciate you, sir.
You're welcome. Not a problem.
You've been wonderful to have with us. And that's pretty much it for our first round of Life in September. Next week, we are going to be having in Get Fit, Be Smart, Be Safe with kinesiology professor Ronnie Nespeka, who's going to teach us about fitness watches and staying fit at home during COVID. I know the COVID-19 has visited my house, so his advice will be most valuable. We appreciate you, and that's it for today, folks. We will see you around. Thank you so much.